In today's lesson, I'm going to teach you the difference between for, since, during, and yet. Go get your pencils and paper, and let's begin the lesson. So let's begin by talking about for. For usually is a word we use before we talk about the duration, how long something has happened, usually in an amount. So for example, it could be a number and then a time phrase. So for example, for 10 hours, for 2 days, etc. and so on. Here are some examples. I can use it in past tense by saying I lived in China for 5 years. I could also use it in present perfect tense by saying I have lived here for 3 months. I could also use it in the continuous form as well. I have been studying Chinese for 10 years. For could also be used to show the purpose, why we do something. However, we might use some other phrases like to or in order to instead. But we can say a sentence like, I'm going to the shop for some groceries. So you could hear for used in that way too. Now let's talk about the second word that is very often confused with for, and that is since. Since is also used in the same way to talk about the duration, especially in present perfect tense. But the difference is that for, like we learned, talks about the amount, how long, but since talks about the exact date, the exact time when something began, and it's been going on since that time. So for example, I can say, I have been living here since October last year. Notice here I'm using an exact time phrase rather than an amount. So that's the difference between for and since. We could also use it with a past simple sentence, such as I have been living here since I moved house. So we could also say a sentence like this as well. Sometimes, if we want to be more formal, since could also be used similarly to the word because. So for example, I can say, I moved to this house since my previous owner, my previous landlord, wanted to increase the price. And here, since is being used like because, but this is used more in formal English rather than spoken English. But in spoken English, usually we use since to talk about the duration, how long. And the third word we're going to talk about is the word during. Now, during is usually used with a noun or a noun phrase to indicate a time when something happens, okay? Now, certain phrases or words we can use with the word during could be during the night. So I could say, I often go to the toilet during the night. I could say during the weekend. I went for a walk during last weekend. I could also say during the movie. I fell asleep during the movie. And I think you get the point. During this period of time, I usually do, or I did something, or I will do something. We can use it with any tense. The last word we're going to talk about is yet, and yet is a very interesting word because there are two main functions when we use yet. The first one is when we use it with negative sentences or questions, usually in present perfect tense, when we want to say up to the present time or up to now. So for example, I can say, have you done your homework yet? Have you eaten yet? No, I haven't done my homework yet. I haven't eaten yet. And I think you can understand. The second main function we use yet is when we want to use it to contrast, to show a difference, similar to the word but. But again, just like with since, when we want to use since instead of because, yet is used as a more formal way of speaking. You'll sound more like the queen, or the king, sorry. He's a king now. So, for example, I can say, it's sunny outside, yet the temperature is very low. He looks very nice, yet he has a bad temper, for example, okay? If you have any questions, then leave them in the comments below. And one good way to practice is also to leave your sentences in the comments below. I really appreciate everything. And if you want to continue your learning, then what you need to do is probably already come up on the screen, but you just need to press this video here and you can continue your learning today. And I really thank you for your support. Remember to like the video, and if you haven't done so already, press that subscribe button. See you in the next video.